Issues in Education is a national thought leadership platform. Listen as Dr. Jim Rosborg, Director of Masters in Education, McKendree University, Dr. Robert Daiber, Regional Superintendent, Madison County, Illinois, and Dennis Young, President and CEO of Ittner Architects, discuss what type of skills our kids and young adults will need as they enter the workforce. Dennis, on your perspective, from what is a very technical field, what is it you are looking for when you see a young person come through your doors?
Well, we're really looking for somebody who can work in teams and be collaborative and be a problem solver, not just by themselves, but with others, and really engage all those different viewpoints and skill sets into solving today, which are more difficult problems than what we've had in the past. So we're really looking for that team player with good communication skills.
So, Dr. Rosborg, how does this translate into the classroom?
You know, the job market is so diverse in today's society that you have to have a general skill set and understand the basic skills of reading, writing, arithmetic, but also technology. But ironically, another skill set that I know employers are looking at in today's market is, believe it or not, are attendance rates, because it is important for the employer to know that today's worker is going to show up. And I think the schools have a responsibility also of teaching children to be on task and stay on task, because that's what your employer is looking for. They're looking for someone that is going to be there every day, is going to learn and from the employer, because the employer's business and industry in today's society have a responsibility to helping to do the skills needed for that particular job, but they need those people to be there. One of the big things as I talk to employers now is a huge problem of texting on the job. And I think that is going to be a big thing for school districts as we talk about the variety of topics. But prepare students to be successful citizens, and also to be have students that are ready in the workplace, and they have to be on task, and they have to collaborate, and they have to be team players. But the schools have the main responsibility of providing the skill set needed for those individuals to be successful in the workplace.
Dr. Daiber, let's look at the elementary level of how you get children to think in this nature. Kindergarten is more of a station-based learning, and at younger ages they seem to work in groups. Is that the type of teaching it's going to take?
I think that's very important, because we cannot lose our capability for verbal communication, and that is a very key skill in the workplace. And as we prepare young people for the 21st century workforce, how they interact with one another, I think as Dennis had mentioned, about having team building skills, the ability to collaborate and put the best ideas together in their creative thought is why you see these collaborative activities in our classrooms, and why we're building schools which are conducive to teamwork by children interacting with one another. Social interaction with young people today is so important, because we find that kids today, unlike in generations past, especially with what we define now as the Z generation, are more isolated, because their best friend is their smartphone, and they text rather than talk. And so how we facilitate in school to get kids together to socially interact is very important.
Dennis, when we talk about the design of buildings, how do you accomplish this so that you have a natural flow without chaos?
There's different learning styles that we recognize today, and I think Einstein said once, doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results is really the definition of insanity. So there is a place in the school for a lecture base, but there's just much more to it than just that. And space really needs to kind of be available to allow for these different learning styles. How students access information today is totally different than how it has been in the past. And they need to be able to be risk takers in what they do. They're not just memorizing and reciting information back. They're really working in groups. So most of the spaces we're designing are highly flexible. Some of them have, if you will, the glass overhead garage door that takes one classroom and creates 2 classrooms out of it, so that now you've gone from, say, 22 students to now you have 35 students, all working together and some working independently. So the schools are quite different today than they've ever have been.
Let's talk about higher ed. How much do you see now in trying to get students ready for the new decades of work that you're having to ask your departments to cooperate, basically blurring the lines?
Well, that's become a key in education, and I think to tag off what Dennis has to say on that is, no longer, I don't think an instructor can be effective just lecturing, having the students walk in there, lecture for 50 minutes. There are a couple of professors that have that background knowledge and reputation that can get by with that. But today's student does not do well by just sitting and watching someone lecture all the time. There needs to be some interaction. So I think even at the college level, there has to be a look at your methodology in your instruction. I also think that universities need to look at the type of instruction that they are offering. The old liberal arts colleges, and that's all they do is liberal arts, I think is dead in the water. Is that no longer, we're seeing, when I see students at the college level now taking some liberal arts areas such as anthropology, sociology, religion, these are all great things, but to get a job in today's market, that's a whole difference in nature that the universities have to look at too. So I do think that the universities have to look at their curriculum in such a way that students are more involved in the process. And what Bob Daiber had to say there, we still have to get students in such a way that they communicate. It's very difficult. It's always been throughout history. It's very difficult. It's fun in my classes to see the teacher who teaches in front of their students all the time, but then when they have to speak in front of their colleagues, they get very nervous and uptight. So it becomes something that they have to get used to and experience. And that's what the universities need to do, is give students experience in many different levels so they can walk out into the job market. And that's a big adjustment that needs to take place.
Thank you for listening to Issues in Education. Please visit our Knowledge Library for access to other national leaders.